What would he fetch, you think? Does he get a first rounder if they make him available?
Depends on the level of interest, and it depends on how the quarterback chairs fall. So if all of a sudden there were a bunch of teams in on Matthew Stafford and they look at Sam Darnold and they say, you know what, we really like this guy. Do I think they're getting a top 10 pick for Sam Darnold? No. Do I think that they could get a first-round pick, a later first-round pick? Yes. Yes. Now, again, let's use Carolina as an example because they were linked to Matthew Stafford. Carolina's got the 8th pick in the draft. Do I think that they would trade the 8th pick for Sam Darnold? No. So maybe they trade the 8th pick to the Jets. And this, it's not going to happen. I'm just giving you an example.
No, I know.
Talking about maybe they trade the 8th pick and then the Jets send them back their second first round pick so that the Jets go up to 8, but then there's some sort of offset there. Again, Sam Darnold, in my mind, I know people will say no way. They'll say he's not worth a first round pick. I headed into the offseason thinking that they would get a second round pick and maybe something else for him. I thought that would be his value if they decided to trade him. I think with all the movement going on, I think with what Matthew Stafford went for, I think that his value in the end, if they trade him, will be some sort of late one. That's my sense and belief.
For more of our conversation with Adam Schefter, check out the link to our podcast down in the description.
That's Guy. I'm John. You guys know the drill. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment if you want. Any thoughts?
Yeah. All right, so there was Adam Schefter telling us he thought coming into the offseason, if Darnold were to be traded, the value would be a second-round pick and something else. So maybe that means a second and a fourth or a second and a nickel corner. Now he believes the value ultimately for Darnold, if he's traded, is a late first-round pick. I'll be honest, that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be teams in the late first round that don't need, the equivalent of a quarterback. I think, does it get is a late first round the equivalent of 2 2s, right? Or does it turn into, I give you, if I'm the Colts, a 1, you give me Sam and a 4th, right? To make that, get that value closer to equivalent. Because I do think Sam is if you and I knew 32 GMs in the league, I think he'd be one of those players. I think if we asked most people about Kirk Cousins, I think the answers would be pretty similar, right, at this point in time, with the body of evidence of him. Or Matt Ryan. Even, Matt Stafford would probably be a little polarizing because some people view him higher and some people view him a little lower. I think Sam answers be all over the map, right, from guys that think, I think in the right situation, be a franchise quarterback. I think he's really average. I've talked to people that don't think he's any good. And honestly, there's not an opinion that I've heard that I go I completely disagree with.
Right.
Because I've watched him,
and
he had moments where I was like, that moment against the Rams, I think he started playing well at the end of the season. You go, well, he's got his feet under him now. They're kind of just in a groove. Everyone's healthy. He looks okay. Then you see moments earlier in the season. I just remember sitting on my couch going, this guy stinks.
I remember talking. Sorry.
All over the place.
Yeah. I remember saying to you, I thought his arm looked bad a lot. And then he would make a play on the run across his body off one foot. I think he made one actually at the end of the Niner game. Was it to Berrios coming back across the field over the middle? Honestly, he made the kinds of plays that Carson Wentz thinks he can still make, right?
See, the way I would describe Sam Darnold right now, I would throw that shit out because that's kind of what he's hanging his hat on. God, he did a 360 and then he ran and then he hits – one of their speedy little wide receivers that they'll probably cut this offseason on the run. Or he hit the dude, forget the guy, they drafted Mims, I think, who ended up getting hurt at the end of the season. But he made a couple plays. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people that I've talked to that are hard on him think just the basic stuff. Can you just consistently hit the slant route against whatever the coverage is and your honey hole is this little 3-step, area? Or can you go to your second progression to the crosser where you have to do it just high-level stuff that a third-year quarterback should be at the level. And then the people that are defending him, that's kind of all over the map. They go, look at his team, look at Gase, look at all the I think he's a massive risk. If you do it, it wouldn't shock me if he makes a couple Pro Bowls and you're happy and he's your quarterback for the next at least 5 years and you feel good about it. It wouldn't shock me if it's a complete disaster. That's where I don't think it would be. If some team, if the Niners, for example, traded a 4th-round pick for him. I'm just using this hypothetical. It could not be a disaster. Now, they could make him the starter, and it couldn't work. But if it didn't work, I'd be like, okay, you can pivot fast. You're not stuck. If you didn't pick up the 5th-year option or he doesn't get hurt and you can get rid of him. To me, where it becomes a disaster is if you do trade the equivalent of a first-round pick. If like the Niners went from like 12, let's say they traded back to like 24 and they got an extra first and a 3 or something.
Right.
And they traded 24 and they gave back a third, whatever the deal was. And it didn't work in that scenario, that's a disaster. Right. To me, the compensation to acquire the player, like Jimmy's a raging success for a 2nd-round pick, right? For what he gave them that 1 year.
If I told you what you'd gotten from Sam Darnold to this point is what you were going to get, what round would he have been drafted in? Wouldn't have been the end of the first round.
Yeah, it'd have been the 3rd. Yeah.
I think there were some people, and there is the school of thought that USC quarterbacks can fool you because they play with such good talent.
Suck. His teams suck, though.
No, I know, but I think there's also a level of just like, for a guy that makes spectacular plays, sometimes you watch him and you go, I don't think he has like an elite arm, like these physical skills. How good are they? He's not that
accurate. He turns the ball over. He's got some negatives.
Yeah, I think there was this.
I couldn't give a late 1st-round pick for him.
If the Niners did that, I would be shocked by it, especially because part of this is like, well, here's the element we don't know, right? Is Mac Jones the 15th pick, or is he a middle 2nd-rounder? What is he?
It does feel like he'd be more likely to be the 15th pick than the middle 2nd round.
Yeah, it does. But the point is, like, so if you're the Niners at 12...
You know who has the 15th pick?
Gruden?
Belichick.
No. Oh, well, there you go. Gruden's got 19, right? 18 or 19.
Yeah. I just heard someone say the other day the Patriots had the 15th pick.
So, I think part of the equation here is like, what else is available? Does he become a quarterback at the end of the 1st round? If Kyle Trask has already been drafted, I don't think it's going to happen. But my point is just, if the quarterback market evaporates and Deshaun Watson is mending fences with the Texans, right? Like, there are circumstances that drive up the value, a simple thing called demand. Yeah. So in a market where there's only 10 safe quarterbacks, Darnold's probably not a 1st round. I'd be surprised. But things can change between now and then. And all of a sudden, the Colts don't have a quarterback, and Deshaun's not going anywhere.
What about the Steelers? What if the Steelers go, we got to think big picture. We know Ben's coming back. We know we're probably going to be a playoff team again. We're never going to have access to a guy like this. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to sit him down, but he doesn't make that much, right? We just have an asset for Ben retiring next year. Art Rooney said earlier this week, like, Ben can't come back at his number. I was like, damn. And then Ben was like, yeah, I know. I'll take a little pay cut. Thanks for the $200+ million you paid me. I want to be back. So it happened really fast. What if they were like, we'll think big picture. We'll trade our 1st-round pick, which, what's that, 23 or 24? Like, that would be, like, I would get it. It's risky because then you got to start paying Sam without him playing, but maybe Roethlisberger gets hurt. But that would be a type move that I do think would make some sense, right? If they could
I think you could. The counter would be, if you're rolling with Ben, then you need all the help you can get. Like, that 1st-round pick that you have this year needs to be on a player that's going to help change your team. Unless you're just going, we're probably not winning the Super Bowl this year either way. Let's just set up for 2022. But I don't think that's how they think.
Yeah. Because none of the teams, like the Packers ain't taking him. I guess, could Tampa trade a 1st-round pick for him to get him around Tom for a year?
Tom would be like, "What?
The Patriots tried that. How'd that work?"
Yeah, good point.
Tom, go away. No, the thing with Tom, you want him to go away. You're like, when is it going to end? But it's so good while he's there. But he's got you now. He's kind of got you by the ball.
Like, all right, year 3, I'm a free agent. I'm thinking $75 million. But he needs players around him too. So
I guess the good thing with Tom is he never asked for it. Because if they win a Super Bowl and let's say they go to another. Tom just on a 1-year deal could ask for $40 million in 2 years, right? And they'd have to pay him if he was good.
Yeah.
That's where Tom's smart. He always takes a little less, no one can get that mad at me. If anything, the public's always on my side. They're like, God, he's taking a discount. What a guy. It's actually kind of genius PR. And then he plays for 25 years. He just racks up all these like 12, 15, 20, 25 millions. All of a sudden he's like, yeah, Eli made a little bit more, but I'm going to make a lot more now. That's where Sam's got to like, if Sam's career is going to get resurrected, to me, he's got to pray to God someone trades for him, and luckily, hopefully, be a good team, which I do think would be possible. Something like that, yeah.
Like, that's the team I could see trading the first-round pick for him.
But then he's your starter immediately.
Yeah.
And Taysom just kind of does what he does still.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is, I think we found out as it goes, like Taysom is a valuable guy doing his hybrid stuff, right? More than a quarterback.
Yeah. Where
And you
Sean
let
Payton
Jameis
goes,
walk.
I need a quarterback. And I don't think I can get a quarterback this good where I'm picking in the 20s.
What if I told you Sean Payton loved him, right, coming out? That
I
would
think you're
be
going to
a
have
huge-
some of that, right? And you always say, and you're right, like, you have all this new information, but you are going to have some of that. A lot.
What do you think Sean Payton would say? Like Adam Gase? Like I forgot more about football than Adam Gase knows, right?
Right.
Or maybe not. That's not true. But like as a coach,
Right. He
like,
might look
who
at
do
the
you think is
Jets
a
and go,
better
of course it didn't work. Why would it have worked?
yeah.
I'm me.
We get a ton of guys. Well, he goes. We get a ton of guys on our team that didn't work somewhere else the last 15 years, and they come here and they kick ass because of me.
Right.
And he's probably right.
Probably is. I might be hoping for that if I'm Sam Darnold.
Honestly, that makes a lot of sense. I could see Sam Darnold going to the Saints. Maybe that's what Schefter was alluding to.